Welcome back, and again, hello and welcome to Chai Chat with Lavina. Even before the Queen's funeral is over, there are differences brewing. May it be in Scotland, may it be in other countries that want to remove monarch as their ceremonial head. We talked to two very important figures, finding about their thoughts. First up, Frank Cross, who was the Lord Provost and is a part of SNP, is a member of SNP, a politician, as well as someone who runs a charity, on why he feels that Scotland should break away. You've been with the Queen quite often as Lord Provost, former Lord Provost. Tell us something interesting.
Yeah, okay. I mean, the vast majority of the time when I was with Her Majesty was in a very formal setting, on civic. So it was a lot harder to have that connection. But a couple of years ago, Her Majesty agreed to visit a local community farm, Gorgie Farm, which was a whole series of various animals. And the Queen loves her animals, and she loves nature. And she came along and we met and we did it. And it became quite amusing because as the tour went on, and Her Majesty was there for about an hour, we realised that this one duck was following her everywhere she went. And I have to say that Her Majesty took it in great spirit, rather than turning around and trying to shoo the duck away. She took quite an interest in this duck following it, and it followed her into buildings and back out again. It was quite incredible. And I think sort of. Yes, I think she was quite amused at that. Yeah, it was
just the spirit of her. I think that is what is very interesting. Very quickly, there is a voice of already when the funeral has not yet happened, and yet there is a voice which is of independent Scotland or moving away. That is there. What do you feel?
Okay. Well, I mean, the independence movement from Scotland is totally unrelated to the monarchy. I'm a member of a Scottish National Party whose aim is to have independence for Scotland, and our policy is still to have the monarch as head of state, in the same way as many of the independent countries within the Commonwealth have the monarch as head of state. That's how we would envisage it here in Scotland. I think the issue for the monarchy as an institution is following on from the phenomenal 70-year reign of Queen Elizabeth, unheard of, is for King Charles to actually show how the monarchy is still relevant to modern society. And so I think the pressure is more on the monarchy to show that it's still relevant to ordinary people, rather than the monarchy being a target of those of us who wish independence for Scotland.
You wish independence for Scotland?
Absolutely. But more than happy to have the monarch as head of state in the same way as Canada does or Australia does.
The second thing, why independence?
Well, for me it's very simple. It's like moving out of house from your parents and having your own house for a while for the first time, or having a family for the first time. If you want to spend your money in a certain way, which we do in Scotland, and that way is different from England, and we can cite a dozen examples why that's different, we should also take responsibility for raising the money to be able to spend. So for me, independence is very clear. We take responsibility of our own lives. We take responsibility for saying, if that's how the type of society that we want, that has free healthcare and free education and prescriptions without charge and education for young people which is free of charge at point of use, then you have to be responsible to be able to say, how do I afford that? How can I pay for that? Okay. And you can't look to somebody else. You have to take responsibility. And for me, it's that simple.
And do you think this voice is going to get stronger with the change of reign and going forward, and what will you do for it?
I don't think the change of reign will have a major impact on it. I think the actions of the Westminster government, in particular, I mean, last week I think there was a significant change where the energy cap, which is a great phrase, but what people are saying is the energy price is now fixed that you will pay double what you paid 12 months ago. And the government will pay for it, which means we as taxpayers will pay for it. And yet the companies who supply the energy are making £170 billion profit.
So there won't be any tax on the the Windrush tax.
Yeah, correct. Now, as has been pointed out, if the government was to go to the stock market and to buy all these energy companies and take them back into state ownership, it would cost about between 60 and 80 billion pounds. But then we'd own them, rather than giving a subsidy of 100 billion pounds to companies that are making 170 billion pounds profit. That type of activity does more to drive independence in Scotland than I don't believe that the change in monarchy will have a significant impact. But people in Scotland, I mean, you come from London, you pay 60% less for your electricity than I do in Edinburgh.
Oh, I see.
60%. So your standing charge is 30p a day. I'm paying 50 in Edinburgh. My unit price in Edinburgh is 45p. Yours is 32p. Why? Why should London be paying cheaper than the rest? And the actions of the current Westminster government are amplifying that difference. And that's the type of thing that will drive the case for independence forward, not any change in the monarchy.
Thank you. The referendum on Scotland had failed, so there are voices that do not support Scotland breaking away from United Kingdom and breaking the kingdom or the united part of it. We speak to Alex Cole-Hamilton, the leader of Lib Dem, on his view and why he stands on the other side. While the world unites and the United Kingdom unites in the name of the Queen, but there are problems simmering and there are questions being asked about the monarchy, the relevance of the monarchy, and so on and so forth. And the very big one where I stand right now in Scotland is the independence of Scotland, which is more a political question, but more relevant now that there is a new government, or rather new Prime Minister, not now government, in place in the UK. And I'm here with Alex Cole-Hamilton, who is the leader of Lib Dems, and what a person to have to answer all this. So should we start with independence, if I may call you Alex, if you allow me? Of course. Brilliant. So how forceful is the ask?
Well, this is something that's actually been rattling around the sides of Scottish discussion and political debate for the last decade. If you consider, we had a referendum on Scottish independence in 2014. That was lost comfortably, and we thought the will was settled then. But then various things happened, including Brexit, which has reignited the discussion about independence. How forceful is the ask? If you'd asked me 6 months ago, I would have said I would have been a lot more worried than I am. I support Britain's place in the United Kingdom. I'm an internationalist. As a Liberal, I'm an internationalist. I believe in political unions. And I think that 6 months ago, we were coming out of the pandemic. Nicola Sturgeon was riding high. She was being given credit for her handling of it. Not all of that was deserved, but she got that credit. And I think that people felt, yes, well, maybe now is the time. Since then, with the cost of living crisis, with the new Cold War that we are seeing with Russia, people are starting to think again. So I don't think it has momentum behind it, and I certainly don't think that what's happened in the morning of the late Queen Elizabeth will have changed that.
Now, just turning into the last question of the Indian community, you have been a big part of the Diwali here, and they also are quite integrated, having done a service for the Queen as well. But they haven't had any visit from the government or the royalty or something. How do you see their influence developing, and how do you see that?
Well, the Indian community in Scotland is incredibly important to me. I'm very honoured to represent so many of them in my constituency of West Edinburgh. I was just at Ganesha Festival 2 weeks ago, so it's a very important part of the cultural fabric of Scotland. And also, I should say, on the return from when Parliament came back after the elections last year, the first motion I put in was about getting more supplies to the Indian COVID disaster that was happening at the time. I think that we need to walk hand in hand with our Indian brothers and sisters, both in Scotland and around the world. They have a rich connection to British history. I mean, some of that history is very jaded, of course, But I love the fact that, you know, we have seen such an outpouring of grief and respect for the passing of Queen Elizabeth from Indians all around the world.
Yeah, indeed. And India being a big market for the UK, and really there has been a very strong movement to get the trade deal through. How do you see India, or rather Britain, looking more towards India needing it rather than the other way around?
We have taken, whilst I may well have disagreed with the decision for Brexit, that is the decision this country has taken. We cannot, in this globalised world that we live in, adopt an isolationist approach, particularly, I think, with the spectre of a new Cold War that we face. So India is absolutely critical to Britain surviving in the modern world, and we need to move forward in partnership, in friendship, in cultural ties that we continue to have. And I work closely with the Indian community in Scotland to make clear that message.
Brilliant, thank you very, very much. There is no doubt that King Charles III has a tough job to hand, even before he has had the time to grieve, or the mourning is over, or even the funeral is over. There are differences simmering, questioning the monarchy or the monarch in various other countries. Now, these are tasks that are serious and have to be dealt with. We'll see how the king performs in this. But before I leave all the serious matter aside, let me share the most amusing thing that I found out while doing all the reporting on the Queen's last journey, which is that the royal beekeeper, 79 years of age, had to formally and officially tell the royal bees, apparently, that they have a new master in King Charles III. I have been wondering what the bees have done with that information. If you have any views, do write into me on chitchat@aajtak.com or Twitter me @LavinaTanton. Thank you, take care, and God bless.